Hi, I'm Spencer Ehrenfeld, and welcome to the very first Attorney Breakfast Club podcast. I am honored to have as our first guest Edmar Amaya, who's one of our founding members and who has currently which seat?
I have the intellectual property seat.
Intellectual property. And tell us a little bit about Edmar. Welcome to the podcast, by the way.
Thank you so much, Spencer, for your cafecito and inviting me to your podcast.
Well, we're thrilled that you're here. What is intellectual property? What do lawyers who practice in that area actually do?
Intellectual property is the law of patents, trademarks, copyrights, and anything that has to do with that, and it's licensing and getting goods and services to market and to protect those goods and services.
How did you get involved in that? What triggered your interest in intellectual property?
So it began when I worked as an engineer in Pennsylvania, and I invented a really interesting product that revolutionized the market, the microelectronics market.
What is it?
It's a ceramic that doesn't shrink when you put it in the oven.
Wow.
For microelectronics. And the company patented it. So that was the first time I saw a patent and how the process went. And I said, wow, this is really interesting, but you have to go to law school for it. So the attorneys came in and I gave all my knowledge. We put it in a patent. He ended up came up to like 3 or 4 patents after that. And so by doing my own inventions, that's when it started. And then I went to law school, and that's how I'm here.
And you've invented some other things too.
Yes, I did.
Things that some of our viewers may actually have.
Yeah, so after working for this microelectronics company, I went to work on a startup on LEDs. It was when the LED market just started in the US, and I came up with ways to extract light out of LEDs and how to make white light out of LEDs.
Wow. And so what applications have your patents been used in?
So flashlights, pen lights, all kinds of anything that has LED lights that glow white light, and how they disperse it.
Well, I imagine it must be unique to have an intellectual property attorney who actually holds patents, who's actually invented things. Does that help you in your practice?
Absolutely, because I can put myself in the position of the inventor, and how when I invented my own patents, how did I look for different ways to circumvent whatever's out there, because you always have you have to be better than what's out there, and if you don't find ways to make it better, you cannot get a patent.
Wow. And in addition to representing inventors, who else do you help in their intellectual property quests?
So small businesses that want to trademark their goods and want to introduce their goods to the market and make sure that nobody copies their brand. Usually we have clients from baby products to clothing. So if you have a product that you care about, that you don't want anybody to copy, and if it's really successful, then you want to make sure it's protected.
And so when's the best time for somebody who's watching this podcast to actually retain an intellectual property attorney like yourself? Is it when they're first thinking about an invention, or do they have to wait until it's actually created? What's your recommendation?
Recommendation is always to seek for an intellectual property attorney at the beginning. The sooner the better, because it will lay out what comes after. A lot of people come when they already invested a lot of money and time and effort, only to find out that their trademark cannot be trademarked because somebody else has it, or that there's some problems with their registration. So you want to do it as early as possible so you can plan ahead. And if you have products, you want to make sure, and we have taken clients from just an idea to the actual production. So,
awesome.
So we guide them through licensing agreements, all their getting their products into the patent office, and after it's in the patent office, to how to deal with production and even China, how to deal with contracts with the Chinese when they actually manufacture stuff like abroad.
Now, I got to see you in action just last week. One of the benefits of the Attorney Breakfast Club is it puts members together that can add elements of legal representation to particular clients in their specialty. So last week we met with a very well-known Italian fashion designer, and what I was so impressed by is you said, I'm your branding guy. What do you mean by that?
So branding guy means that I look at businesses as a whole. So I'm not just looking, when you hire me, you're not just hiring me to file this trademark application. I look at your entire business, and then I figure out the best way to protect all your products. So is it a house mark that's going to have several different individual marks underneath? Can we brand colors? So maybe the color of your products can be branded. So there's up to like 7 or 8 types of trademarks that you can do that a lot of people don't know about. So I take a more holistic approach to the entire business, right? And to just, here, file this name for me.
Right. Now, your primary office is here in South Florida, but if someone's watching the podcast, say they're in Washington State or they're in California, can you still help them even though you're here?
Absolutely. So I have probably half of my clients are from abroad because the U.S. is the biggest market and they want to introduce products into the U.S. So they call me from Europe, from Latin America, and they want to trademark something here in the U.S. And everything's done through email. All evidence is requested through email. All payments are done through email. So, and all communication with the trademark office is electronic. So you really don't need to be physically here to do business or trademark something in the U.S.
You know, one of the things I find most fascinating about you, and I find a lot of things fascinating about you, is that you speak several languages, obviously English. What other languages do you speak?
So I'm fluent in Spanish and also in Swedish and a little bit of French. I'm trying to get better at it.
Awesome. Now, if people who are watching this podcast are interested in consulting with you about a brand, about an invention, about a patent, you even represent people in the entertainment industry.
Absolutely.
What's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Best way is to send an email, and that's probably the quickest way, or a phone call to one of my phone numbers.
Awesome. And we'll put that information somewhere in the podcast.
Absolutely.
A little pitch for Attorney Breakfast Club. Could you tell us about your experience with the Attorney Breakfast Club? You've been a member for years, and what's it been like for you?
So the best thing about the Attorney Breakfast Club, it's the quality of attorneys that are there. You can always find somebody to give you a straight answer, and you will know the people personally. You'll know the attorney, so when you refer somebody to them, you know that they're going to do a good job and you're going to be well represented as their referral.
Well, that's how I feel about you, and
absolutely.
I thank you so much for being our very first podcast
thank
interviewee, being a member of the Attorney Breakfast Club and being a very good friend. So we appreciate it. It's Edmar Amaya, ladies and gentlemen. If you're interested in consulting with one of the best intellectual property attorneys in the United States, he's the guy we recommend. Click on the links below to get more information about Edmar. And thank you again for coming to the first Attorney Breakfast Club podcast.
Thank you.